In a peaceful meadow, not far from a dense forest, a group of animals often gathered to share stories and have fun. Among them, two creatures were especially well known for their rivalry. One was a swift and proud hare, known for his speed and boundless energy. The other was a slow and steady tortoise, often overlooked for his lack of agility. Despite their differences, the two animals would frequently argue about which one was superior. One sunny morning, after a particularly heated exchange, the hare boasted to everyone gathered, "There is no animal in this meadow faster than me. I can run circles around anyone. No one can ever beat me in a race." The tortoise, who had grown tired of hearing the hare's boasts, finally spoke up. "You may be fast, but speed isn't everything. You might be quick, but I am determined and persistent. I challenge you to a race, hare." The hare burst into laughter, his large ears flopping with each chuckle. "A race? You, slowpoke? What a joke. This will be over before you even reach the first tree. I accept your challenge, but I warn you, it will be a walk in the park for me." The other animals in the meadow, curious to see this spectacle, agreed to be the race's judges. The course would be simple, a long, winding path that ran through the meadow and into the forest before returning to the starting point. Whoever crossed the finish line first would be declared the winner. On the day of the race, all the animals gathered to watch. The tortoise, wearing a calm expression, stood at the starting line, while the hare bounced around in excitement, eager to prove his speed. At the signal, "Ready, set, go," the hare shot forward, leaving the tortoise far behind. His powerful legs carried him swiftly across the meadow, and within moments, he was out of sight. The tortoise, though, was not in a rush. He took slow, deliberate steps, focusing on the task ahead. He could feel the weight of the hare's mockery in the air, but he refused to let it bother him. He knew that persistence would be his strength. Meanwhile, the hare had already reached the halfway point of the race. He felt so confident in his lead that he decided to take a break. "I have plenty of time," he thought. "Why not relax for a bit?" Finding a comfortable patch of grass, the hare laid down and soon fell into a deep sleep. The warm sun and the gentle breeze lulled him into a sense of security. Meanwhile, the tortoise was still steadily moving, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. One step after another, he pressed on, unwavering and calm. Hours passed, and the hare remained fast asleep. His dreams were filled with visions of himself crossing the finish line in victory, laughing at the tortoise's slow pace. He never even considered that the tortoise might be inching closer to him. Back on the race course, the tortoise continued his steady progress. By the time the sun began to set, he had made his way into the forest, where the trees cast long shadows across the path. He didn't stop for a rest, and as he plodded along, he thought about the lesson that this race was teaching him. It wasn't about speed or strength, but about perseverance. The path was long, and obstacles would come, but he knew that as long as he kept going, he had a chance. After a while, the tortoise emerged from the forest, and the finish line was in sight. He could barely see the hare in the distance, still lying under the tree, completely unaware that the tortoise was nearing the end of the race. With a final burst of energy, the tortoise pushed himself forward. He could feel the energy in his legs fading, but he didn't stop. His slow and steady rhythm had carried him this far, and he was determined to finish strong. At the same time, the hare woke up with a start. He glanced around and saw the sun was much lower in the sky than he remembered. Panic surged through him as he realized how much time he had wasted napping. With no time to lose, he shot off the ground and sprinted down the path, hoping to catch up to the tortoise. His powerful legs carried him swiftly, but he quickly realized that the finish line was much closer than he had anticipated. He could see the tortoise, only a few hundred feet away, steadily walking toward the finish line. The hare pushed harder, his heart racing with the effort. His legs ached from the sudden exertion, but he pushed through, willing his body to go faster. But it was too late. The tortoise, steady and unwavering, crossed the finish line just as the hare reached the final stretch. The crowd of animals erupted into applause, cheering for the tortoise's victory. The hare, panting and exhausted, came to a stop beside the tortoise. His face was red with embarrassment, and his once confident demeanor had been replaced by a humbled silence. He had learned a hard lesson that day. The tortoise, who was not one to gloat, smiled kindly at the hare. "I may be slow, but I didn't stop. You can be fast, but if you don't stay focused and persistent, even the smallest of competitors can win." The animals cheered again, and the hare, although embarrassed, bowed his head in acknowledgement. He knew the tortoise had earned the victory fairly. From that day on, the hare no longer bragged about his speed, and the tortoise became a symbol of perseverance for everyone in the meadow. And though the race was over, the lesson lingered in the hearts of all who had witnessed it, that slow and steady really could win the race.